everyone thinks that, when you get wealthy, that it's easy to, firing people in your companies and all that, but we lose a lot of sleep and we keep people around way too long typically. I'm just trying to figure out like, what does the world think of how rich people are, and then go against the grain.
Hey guys, welcome to I'm Rich.
Now what? What's going on, Tim?
Hey, Mark, good to see you, buddy.
Likewise.
Hey man, I'm excited for the topic today. We've had some communication on this and shooting some messages back and forth and talking a little bit offline here about do you have to be a jerk to be wealthy?
I mean,
right? Do you have to be a jerk to be rich?
Absolutely. It's the only way to get rich, right? No, of course not, man. I'm excited to talk about this topic because I do think, like you said, we were going back and forth on it. So I do think there's some great insights on what we're about to share today.
Yeah, I think there's a lot from a standpoint of let's go back. Why do people think rich people are all jerks, right? Why are they all assholes? And there's things in society that drive that connotation, right? It's like, oh, the rich guy, or filthy rich, right? You're using negative adjectives to define wealth. Dirty money, right? Like things along those lines that are ingrained in us from a very young age have set certain undertones to being wealthy or having money. And so there's this adverse look at it. There's also a lot more people who are not wealthy than are wealthy. And so there's this underlying negativity and jealousness, envy of seeing people with money, wishing you had that. And I think it's less common for people to aspire, and that to, for you and me, that got us excited. That got us engaged, wanting to figure out how do they get that, and then putting in the work, putting in the effort, improving ourselves as individuals, running businesses, taking risks, and doing those kinds of things to go and aspire to be wealthy. And I think a lot of people see that it might seem like too much of a reach, and so they'd rather just pull them down, be negative, and say, "Hey, I don't want that," and then they never get that in their life. But
well, I mean, I've never met anybody that doesn't want to be rich. However, what are they willing to do to get rich? Are they willing to kill their old self, their old beliefs, their old habits, their old friends that are holding them back? Right? The way I grew up, right? If you keep in mind, if the individual says, "Yes, son, you can get rich," it's like, well, mom and dad, why aren't you rich? Right? If I can, why can't you? Right? It's not very productive for them to do that, because they'll be like, shit, I don't know, but we can do it, so you got to understand the side of it. Not only that, keep in mind too, there's people that grew up wealthy that see wealth in a different way too, right? Yeah, I think about my kids, your kids, like they're not going to think getting rich you're a jerk, because they see how we function and how we act, and connect and communicate. And I don't know about you, Tim. Well, I do know, but like on our side, everyone I know that I hang out with that's wealthy are the nicest people in the world, and I'm not saying people that don't have money aren't nice people. It's not, and I think that's where we get confused. It's like, if you're rich or poor, well, if you're nice, you're nice. It doesn't matter. Just if you have wealth, you can amplify that niceness, because you can give more money to the church, give more money to the community, give to the local charities at any level you want, the cancer patients, etc., and really help out a lot of people, have your name on hospitals, whatever you're into. But I think it really comes down to how, dude, my whole life, it's like, oh, that, keep in mind, their bosses were the rich guy, even though looking back, their boss wasn't rich. They just were the boss. They had a little bit of money, like when I say a little bit more, like maybe 50 cents more an hour money. But they treated them wrong. They treated them like, they almost projected that they're big dogs. The people that are faking like they're rich are typically the jerks, is what I've seen.
Well, dude, that might be the answer, right? The answer might be people of authority, are usually, and people of authority who may not be rich, but they're seen at a higher level, that have a persona to follow or have some sort of something to live up to, right? And they're the ones talking down on others, and that's not a wealthy person, right? Same thing. The people that I know who are wealthy fight over covering the entire bill at dinner.
Always.
Every single time
Always.
we go out, right? The people that I know that are wealthy have smiles on their face, and they wave and they say hello when we're walking down the sidewalk, right? When I go to, I think back 20 years ago when I first started investing in real estate, and I remember going to the areas that I could only afford to invest in real estate in, which was C and D class areas. Nobody's saying hello. Nobody's waving. Nobody's smiling. Everything, like everybody's on edge all the time.
You're a threat. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not. There's not a positivity to it, right? Does money make you happy? No, but it definitely allows you to put food on the table and remove some of those personal stresses. What behaviors, like when I think about why people think this, there's probably certain behaviors that have led to this, and or actions, I would say. I remember when I was first coming up, getting involved in real estate, a couple years in, had some stuff going on, right? I don't know, 50, 60 rental units or something. And I reached out to like the biggest developer in town up in Cleveland. And guy was building some really cool stuff and had a really good name and getting awards for the designs and all this other things. And I reached out to him. I was like, hey, man, I don't know you. You don't know me. I'd love to come and just match up with you. I'll come work for you for a day if we can just go grab lunch, right? And you pay me nothing and whatever. And I reached out to this guy, and he completely ghosted me, right? Never responded. And I was like, dude, what a jerk, right? He thinks he's better than everybody. I have some stuff going on. I'm not a total tire kicker. Like, I'm willing to work for him for no cost for a certain amount of time just to, pick his brain on some stuff. I realize there's a price that needs to be paid on that. And the dude just ghosted me, never said anything, never replied. Well, handful of years later, he sees all the rise and all the things that I have going on social media and the coaching and my portfolio growing to thousands of doors, and he reaches out to me to grab coffee and to grab lunch. And I did go and grab lunch with him, and he wanted me to bring money for some deals and some other stuff, sure. And I decided not to go down that path, but as I've grown my portfolio, as I've grown influence, as my time is more constrained, both with having having multiple kids, having a family, having multiple different business things going on, I can understand why somebody with a lot going on wouldn't just reply to all messages, right? Like, how many messages do you get on a daily basis that you're like, I try to reply to as many as I can. But there's a lot of spam, and there's a lot of things that get caught up in junk mail and things like that I just can't reply to and just don't have the time to reply to.
Who says we have to reply, though? I think sometimes we got to stop back and, like, when the phone rings, it doesn't mean you have to answer it. When someone sends you a text, it doesn't mean you have to reply. When someone sends an email, you definitely don't. Like, there's a weird rule, like, just because they send a message doesn't mean it's worth replying to the message. Now, it depends what the message is about, depends what you got going on in your life. I mean, dude, maybe they're going through a life crisis themselves. Maybe their mom died. Maybe their dad died. Why do we always make it about us? You know what I mean? Like, this whole I'm a jerk thing, it reminds me of, like, the hot chick. She's sitting at the bar by herself, and your friend's like, yo, dude, she's a jerk. Well, they have never talked to them. They just don't want to get rejected. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like they create a story to suffice, like you're talking their actions. You know what I mean? So it's like if it's she's a jerk and I don't want to talk to him, therefore my actions won't align with that. So I'll never have a chance because I won't even say hi. So as we're building this, is like, do we really think that we have to reply to people? I don't know. I mean, I think if you and I are walking by each other, we say hello, that's cordial. But dude, in the world of social media and just internet, everyone thinks we should be accessible 24/7. Well, we have lives. We have kids.
So that's the question. Does that come off as a jerk thing to somebody who maybe isn't wealthy yet because Mark Evans is wealthy and he doesn't respond to messages? It's not because he's wealthy, it's because there's restrictions on his time, and there need to be guardrails on your time too, right? And so, that's really the question, is what other actions do wealthy people take that might be perceived as jerk things that they do, even though they're not really jerk things. It's just protection and guardrails on their time and on their priorities.
Well, here's the thing. I just watched the what's his name, Hulk Hogan's thing on Netflix recently, right? His whole story about how he went, how he got the divorce and all this stuff. The guy was out and about. He was saying hi. He was connecting with everybody and all this. But behind the scenes, dude, his kids didn't know who he was. His wife didn't know who he was. He's gone 300 days a year. All these things. If that's what you want to do, cool, go do it. My family's way more important than anybody that ever email me or text me or call me randomly. I could give two shits, truthfully, what they got going on. I don't care if it's big, small, medium. It doesn't matter in the context of what my life is about, right? So, again, people's got to stop and say, hey, maybe it's not about you sending the message. Maybe it's about what value. By the way, you taking, like that job thing that you said, hey, I'll go work for free. Well, dude, that costs them money because they got to spend time with you. They got to teach you. They got to invest in energy. It's an energy and effort. And, oh, by the way, what about the 72 other people that asked the same question? Now they got to recirculate. Well, shit, you let Tim do that. Why can't I? Blah, blah, blah. So now they got to deal with that. There's a whole ripple effect of actions. And we don't really understand that until you start getting a little bit more clout, a little bit more, dude, our job is not just you and I. We have an entire team. We have ecosystems of things. If we fail, the whole system goes down. When you don't have much going on, it's just me. That's it. And oh, by the way, I can barely pay my bills anyway, so I'm losing already. So I'm just taking shots everywhere, throwing spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. But also, what about consistency? In real life, you're going to get rejection. I don't know about you, Tim, but a lot of messages I get, I don't even see them because they go to spam. So I'll see someone out in the wild, and they're like, oh, man, I shot you a message 3 years ago. And I'm like, where? When? I didn't see it. And they're like, yo, on blah, blah, blah. And I pull it up. I'm like, I don't have it. I don't even know who you are. And they're mad at me. They've carried that for 3 years or what. And it's like the interweb or the system didn't even put it in front of me. So they thought I was avoiding them or not communicating. So when does it stop? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's, going back to this kind of idea of this guy didn't respond to me, right? And I felt like I got slighted, right, when I was on my way up. And I never wanted other people to feel that way about me as I was growing. And so I've always had my arm reaching back down, trying to help people pull up. But dude, the amount of requests that I get to grab coffee or to hop on a phone call or to meet up or whatever that is like you can't physically do it because now you start taking time away from family, you start taking time away from your own team and your own businesses and your own investors that end up starting to suffer. So, one of the things that I did was I would reply to people and say, hey, man, I really appreciate the request. I just don't do phone calls. I can't do phone calls because it steals time from my team and my businesses and spending time with my family. Yep. And so I don't do phone calls anymore. But if you have a question, dude, put it in the comment section, shoot it over to me. Maybe I'll create some content around it. Yep. That's why I create social media content, is because I can give that away for free to everybody. And you can learn about my story, and you can learn about how I grew my portfolio and how I did this and that. And I have videos about all that kind of stuff. And so I'll connect them with somebody on my team who can send them those videos. But I think that, that at least gives them a response.
Well, you're way too nice. You're way too nice. I mean, at the end of the day, dude, everything that we've done is on social media at this point, right? So if they're too damn lazy to go search and be resourceful enough to go find who we are, what we do, where we hang out, what our friends look like and all that. By the way, that's a great strategy to connect with guys like us, is to find out where we're hanging out. Go to places where we go. Connect with people we connect with. Be valuable to the community before you try to extract value. Let us know what you're bringing to the table. Don't ask us what we can bring to the table. I mean, dude, I won't even do hourly consults. People are trying to pay me $2,000 to $5,000. I don't want to do it. Not because I don't want time. What's 1 hour in our company that 1 hour? And by the way, there's certain times of the day or weeks or years that, yes, we do have mental clarity where we could spend that time, but it's a trade-off. A lot of our business, we're growing, we're shrinking, we're pushing, we're pulling, we're acquiring. All these things are going on. So spending that hour thinking about how to do that in our company, that $5,000 or whatever they pay for an hour is nothing. Even though it's a lot of money, is nothing compared to what the enterprise value or the results could be on the backside. Dude, what if I lose my best employee in one of our companies because I didn't take an hour and spend time with them? Mm-hmm. Who's the jerk now? Like, where's my loyalty stand? We have a fiduciary duty to our team, our family, ourselves. Like, yes, it's cool. All these cool people get to see us, but like you said, send us a message. And if we can do a show about it, we will. That's why we do these shows, right? These podcast shows, these social media posts. You guys actually help us create content. We actually don't charge for it. And we're asking you to do that. I don't know about you, Tim, but like when I do that, hey man, cool, yeah, that's a great question. Ask a deeper question. I'll do a show on it. Maybe 20% actually reply with the full message. They don't even follow through with basic stuff, and they want to take our time. Well,
you're a jerk because that's how you think, Mark. You're rich and you think that way. You're a jerk. And so, like, I think that's, for me, the overarching thing is I think wealthy people protect themselves. Dude, there's a reason wealthy people have gates around their houses. It's so people can't just go and knock on the friggin' door, right? It's to keep people out that they don't want to talk to, or they have to protect their time and, again, barricade. Because if you don't protect your own time, like who told Oprah that she didn't have to reply to messages anymore or answer phone calls? I don't know, friggin' nobody. She just got to a stage and she made the delineation that I don't want to take phone calls anymore. I don't want to respond to messages anymore. I have too much other stuff going on. And nobody would expect Oprah to respond to a text message or a direct message on social media. And yet we expect everybody else to be 100% accessible. I thought about, you know Darren Hardy? He was the former publisher of Success Magazine, author of Compound Effect. He's got some really, really good stuff. I saw him speaking once, and he shared a story about, he interviews all these billionaires for Success Magazine when he was doing that, and there was an organization who wanted Sir Richard Branson to come out and speak at their conference, and it was in California or something. And because Darren Hardy had a connection with Sir Richard Branson and knew him on a personal level, they asked him to reach out to Sir Richard Branson's people and see if they could get Sir Richard Branson to come out and speak for a morning session. And they offered to pay him this is a decade ago. So they offered to pay him like $250, or maybe 15 years ago, $250,000 to come and talk for like an hour. And so Darren Hardy reached out to Sir Richard Branson's office and his people, and his executive assistant reaches back, says, "Hey, thank you for the offer, but it's just not something that we're interested in doing, at this time." So Darren Hardy goes back to the organization, not interested. All right, hey, we'll pay him $500,000 to come out, and we'll send a private jet to go and pick him up and bring him here, and we'll handle it. Goes back to Sir Richard Branson's people. They say, "Hey, thank you, but no thank you." And finally, the final offer was, we'll pay him $1 million. He only talks for 30 minutes. We'll send a private jet to pick him up, drive him in, bring him a black car over to the conference. He talks for 20 to 30 minutes. He gets right back on. We'll have him back. The total time allotment would be no less than a couple hours, and we'll pay him $1 million for his time. Darren Hardy goes and calls up Richard Branson's people again. Says, "Hey, it's $1 million, right? Door to door, 2 hours, only talk for 20 minutes, like pretty good deal." And they said, "Listen, thank you for making that proposal, but Sir Richard Branson only focuses on 3 primary objectives at any given time. And speaking for a fee, no matter how much that fee is or how simple of an obligation that could be, speaking for a fee is not one of those top 3 priorities. So thank you, but please do not bring us any other offers because it's going to be another no." And Darren Hardy shares that story in that Sir Richard Branson is not trying to be a jerk by not coming out and speaking on somebody's stage for $1 million. He has higher priorities and greater things that he's working on that he has to say no to everything else. And by saying no to everything else, it allows him and his team to then focus on those higher level type tasks or responsibilities. And by the way, it doesn't have to be a business thing either. It could be he wants to take a friggin' vacation with his family, and he should be allowed to do that without being ridiculed about not speaking on stage. So I think about that kind of stuff, and I believe that is probably a big reason why the masses think wealthy people are jerks, is because they're so restrictive of their time and they protect their time so much.
Well, I mean, not only that, if rich people are such jerks and all they care about is money, why didn't he just take the money? It's because he doesn't care about the money. He cares about his time, right? So these are prime examples of what I'm talking about, dude. Like most people think everything's about money, 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 money. Well, when you got money, it ain't about money. It's about peace. It's about joy. It's about freedom. It's the whole reason to get money. So again, I do think there's a big problem in the world where things are so accessible, where people think, by the way, these are stories we created in our head that we have to reply to everyone. We have to we have to do these things. And I'm not saying you shouldn't try to avoid it if you want to do it. I'm just saying, as you evolve, your brain only can handle so much stuff. I don't know about you, but there's days by noon, I'm like, oh my gosh, my eyeballs are going to pop out of my head because I'm reading, I'm thinking, I'm deep diving, I'm connecting, I'm doing multiple Zooms, multiple team calls. We're doing all these things, and then at 1 o'clock, someone randomly sitting on the toilet wants to send us a message to try to connect with us to pick our brain, and I'm stressing out about replying to this individual. Like, dude, this is self-inflicted. A lot of this stuff is all self-inflicted. Show me the rule book that says must reply to all messages. Dude, if you go to my messages, I mean, let's see how many messages do you have unread on your phone? Do you know?
I don't know, man. I try to go through them.
I have 661 unread text. Right? Let's see, email.
So look, dude, I'm OCD. I have to go through my phone and my email, and I try to go to 0 on messages all the time, and I can't do it. And it feels like I can't ever get off of this hamster wheel of replying to messages. And so, like, this is a relevant topic for me right now in my time of how I've just tried to, like, refine and remove things from my life, remove responsibilities, remove meeting obligations, and just eliminate a lot of the communication. Trying to tell my team, hey, listen, if you don't need a direct message back from me or don't CC me on something
100%,
just for an FYI. Like, I don't need to be on that. So I'm trying to put these guardrails up, not to be a jerk, but just because I get so overstimulated from all the messages.
Dude, to me, if they know that, they're the ones being a jerk to you, right? So, like, you could look at this on both sides. They're being disrespectful of your time, knowing that Tim is always going to solve the problem. Like, so for example, obviously I have 661 unread. Most of those people, I don't even know who they are. But the ones I know, like if you're texting me, I'm texting you, right? Like, there is definitely a hierarchy structure inside of messaging. Why not just if you're OCD, maybe once a week you sit down for an hour and you reply to everyone at the same time, right? Or and there are certain things like I got to get to 0. Everyone talks about I got to get my email to 0, 0, 0. Dude, I have 150,000 unreplied emails. Like, I'm just storing them and keeping them. Like, so I think we have to be conscious of that. Like you said, you're doing it right now, but if your team is doing that, I just had it with one of our guys, Vic. I was like, dude, stop replying. He's putting 17 people in an email. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, everyone's responsible for that, and everyone feels obligated to reply to that. And then what that does to our inbox is that, everyone's replying. You're like, What am I on this for? This has nothing to do with me at all. Now by the way, it's not just replying. I got to read it. I got to understand if I'm even, am I responsible for this? Is this something I got to do? And, by the way, I want to be up to date. For what? Like, this is about a software system or what, whatever. So I do think team communication is very important on that side, but to me, they're being a jerk if they do that knowingly that you've told them not to, right? So
yep. No, I agree. I've had the conversation with my team recently. So let's on the email side, I don't have an executive assistant right now. Every time I hire an EA, I end up promoting them to some sort of operations or like some other role, and I have such a big team that I don't even have an executive. I probably need to hire one in order to handle the email and be a gatekeeper for all that stuff. Just haven't done it.
I still do emails though. I mean, I like to kind of be in the know. I've tried to hand off,
and I get a lot of emails from like lenders and investors and stuff like that I have to be the one to reply to. And I can't really I don't like putting guardrails on stuff like that.
Here's the thing is, I know a lot of people talk, buy back your time, do these things and all that, have PAs do all this stuff. And that's cool, but it doesn't work for me. Again, everyone's different too, right? Everything we're talking about, there's not a one size fits all for this stuff. If you're OCD and you have to reply to every text, cool, do it. I mean, but you don't want to do it, cool. Figure out guardrails and figure that out. This is a process. But like, I've tried to hand off email. I feel anxious. I get overwhelmed, and I've done this for months where it's like I'm not even in the email, but I feel very lost. And by the time I catch up, I could, if I was just kind of in the know. But it's like, do you have email on your phone? Do you have it just on your computer? Are you doing block times? Or you're not doing block times? There's a lot of different ways to do it, depending on what someone's trying to do. But like when you and I travel and we fly for 8, 10, 12, 24 hours at a time, Dude, I'm not in email. I'm not doing anything. I'm reading, I'm thinking, I'm writing, I'm scheming. And then, a lot of this stuff, the system will sort it out by itself. You know, the truth is us emailing back typically causes more problems than not. So it
Always,
does.
always. Well, this is one of those things where, as a leader of an organization, putting these guardrails on one, batching the activities, right? Like one to many type activities, like stuff like that. But you ever heard of the 10-80-10 rule? Something that I've tried to start implementing
I just started
in my
hearing
business.
about 10-80-10, right? So go ahead though. I literally just I was thinking about it.
Yeah, so as a leader of an organization, I show up
Oh
and let me
yes,
give
ten
the
eighty ten. I know exactly what you're talking about.
10% overview, right? I'll give the 10% overview of what we want to accomplish in this, and then answer any questions right then and there with the team. And then the team who's responsible, maybe it's the marketing team, maybe it's the sales team, maybe it's the operations team, maybe it's the capital team or the finance team. They go and implement 80% of it, right? And they get it 90% of the way there. And then the last 10%, I come back in, put finishing touches on it, make small adjustments, make sure it's refined to a point where, it matches our brand, it matches our messaging and all that kind of stuff. And from there, I'm only involved in 20% of it, and I'm not, a cog in the wheel in the meat of getting everything done. And so I've tried to do that, step out, right? Try not to be available or anything like, hey, you take it, you run with it, and then I'll come back in when we have a finished product and put some finishing touches on it. And I think that helps. I think that definitely helps from maintaining some control over what's happening and what the finished product is that goes out without having to be in the weeds on everything on a day-to-day basis.
I think it's great, man. That might not work for me as well because I don't want to be the bottleneck at completion. Right, because they're like, Tim, I'm waiting on you. Tim, I'm waiting on you. Tim, we're waiting on you. It's like you and 17 other people. What are you talking about? Like this shit's on my shoulders again. So I don't hate it. I just haven't put it into practice on my side. I'm involved in stuff like that though. Not in the middle though. I'm definitely vision, cast it out to the team, hand it off, let them run with it. That's burnt me as well, right? Giving them a little too much control, a little too much authority. Like, you got this, yeah, I got it, and they definitely didn't have it. Cost you money and time. But I think all this stuff is navigating. You got to navigate this through real life stuff. You can read about it all day long you want. You can write about it all day. Until you put it into practice with people and humans and yourself included, what is your personality? What is your handoff? Are you a control freak, micromanager, or are you kind of loosey-goosey? Like, there's a lot of variables to that. And not only that, how good, like, a lot of people call themselves visionaries, Tim, that are not visionaries, dude. They're not. They're like, dude, I have an idea. Cool, what is it? I don't know, but it's going to be big. Okay, well, I need some direction. Like, what is the idea? And it's like, if they can't really do it, now you're asking your team to come up with the idea, the direction, the visual, like, all these things. So, and then, oh, by the way, when they're doing that, you're inside of that all the time, acting like you're not inside of it. And it's like, dude, I created this with my own mind. It's like, no, you didn't. And then getting into the finish line, a lot of people, as you know, man, everybody's great starters. Very few people win because they're not good finishers, right? And that's what I don't like on the 10% for me on the back end. I think mine might be like 10, 60, 20, and then they finish it up. Put it on them to kind of close the gap. Where I'd have to jump in the middle, rearrange, cool, got it, good, next, and then hand off. Because I don't know about you, man, but I hate being the bottleneck. I absolutely hate it.
Yeah. And I find myself the bottleneck a lot, right?
Yeah.
I think when you build a brand, people want to talk to you, investors want to talk to you, they want to see your face, the lender wants you on the phone call as the borrower, right? Like on a lot of different real estate type transaction type of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of that where, depending on where you are, I think, on the journey of launching a business or scaling a business, and kind of the season that you're in, sometimes, you have to be more involved. Other times you don't need to be involved. I think we all put a lot more on us and we think we're more important than we are. And actually, that leads me to a study that I read that had several characteristics of wealthy people. And I want to share these with you kind of before we wrap this up here and get your feedback on it. 4 specific behaviors that wealthy people have that they found across ultra wealthy folks. One is a superiority complex, essentially thinking that they're more capable and able and deserve wealth more so than anybody else, right? So
I feel that way. I mean, I honestly feel that way. When I say deserve, by the way, let's just put clarity on it. When I feel like I deserve it, I'm willing to work to earn it. I don't deserve it just because I
100%.
wake up and I deserve it. So it's not that. But I definitely feel like in a situation like, yes, I should be here, and I'm deserving to be here, and I'm willing to do the work to be in the room and maintain the room and grow the room, right? So I definitely, I don't know about you, but I feel that way.
Yeah. No, I 100% feel the same way. Not in that I'm better than other people, but in that I know I'm willing to do the work. I know, or at least have awareness that I have the ability to be great and do great things because I can self-improve and more things are inside of my control. I'm not a victim to external factors. And I feel like majority of society thinks they're a victim to external factors. And that alone holds them back and gives me a superior positioning in society because I know that I can control my destiny, right? And so that, and the belief of that, knowing that I have the ability to control my destiny, gives me the idea that I have a superiority over people who don't understand that.
Yeah, dude, honestly, this is why I don't really go out a whole lot. I don't like being around everyday people, like just doing their own things, looking at the TV all day, eating, drinking, like it's not fun for me. I don't enjoy it. I genuinely just don't enjoy it. It's weird to me. I want stimulating, high great conversations. And I'm not saying you can't have it. It's not where I shine. That's for sure. Especially at this time in my life because I'm trying to move forward in a different level. But it's like, dude, I'm annoyed. I'm just annoyed. Maybe it's the right word. Dude, if you go to, you just weren't to Orlando, to the parks and stuff, I do VIP, dude. I'm getting handheld. I'm going right in the back door, right through the thing. I don't want to hang out in general population, if you will. I'm like, this is wild to me. How these people are, dude, they're animals. It's animals. It's like, they're spitting, blowing their nose, picking their nose. Their kids look like they're sloppy because the parents are sloppy. It's just, and I'm not saying everybody, but it's weird to me that people think that's okay. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's getting worse, honestly. It's getting worse out there.
Yeah. If you just stay the same, everybody else just keeps on moving down. You know what I mean? And you're superior in that regard.
All right. What's number 2?
All right. Number 2, high impulse control, meaning, you've heard about you ever seen the study with the kids sitting in a room and they put a marshmallow in front of them, right? They say you can eat the marshmallow now, or if you wait 10 minutes. Or if you wait until I come back, I don't think there was a timeline associated. If you wait until I come back, I'll give you 2 marshmallows. And they could identify which kids were going to be more successful when they're older based on impulse control of not eating that marshmallow. And here's the thing. I'm very impulse controlled in some ways, and I'm very not impulse controlled in other ways. How about you?
Same way, man. I think, too, it's a maturity thing as well. I think, initially you're impulse because you just want to get to the finish line faster. So you're willing to just be more impulsive because you think that's how it's supposed to be. And then you make a bad decision. You're like, oh, that kicks, 1 step forward, 3 steps back kind of thing. And then you gain more control through pain. I think that's how I built impulse control with me, is the pain of watching it. I think you and I, as we've mentored other people in the past, where we're at today in our life, is we can give them that insight. It's dude, you don't need that. By the way, I think everyone should go buy a nice car. If they're in a nice car, go buy a nice car. If you're in a big house, you're going to do it no matter what. You might as well just get it out of the way now and see if you like it or not, if it moves you or doesn't. Cars and how, it forced me to grow, truthfully. So, but that was an impulse, dude. There's still stuff I want to buy that I've had on my dream board since I was 18 years old. It's not that I can't afford it. It's I can do it now. It's whatever, right? So, but I think there's a maturity factor to this for sure. I'm very impulsive 100%. Though, dude. Trips. I just did the Masters and, from 9:08 a.m. and I was on the plane at 2:30. So I'm very uncertain.
Yeah, well, it's, you ready, fire, then aim kind of a mentality in a lot of things in business. And I think speed to business is definitely one of your fortes. I mean, it's where you've gotten ahead a lot, is because you have very quick from an idea to implementation, and you're impulsive in that regard. You do a lot of fun stuff and do some cool things. I've bought some deals impulsively, right? That I maybe got some smoking deals on, and other ones that I bought impulsively that I wish I didn't do. I think just sleeping on it for one night usually helps me make better decisions now. But I've always prioritized long-term wealth over short-term gain, at least in my business approach. I've always thought, hey, long-term, if I buy this deal, might have to deal with tenants, might have to deal with renovations and contractors and all this other, but long-term, it's going to play out way better. I'm going to make way more wealth in 5, 10, 20, 30 years down the road by doing this deal. And I've always had that lens that I've looked at opportunities through.
Yeah, as you know, most people don't have a vision problem. They have a depth perception problem, right? So they're trying to make money now. Like what you just said is like, I'm more long-term focused. That's a great guardrail structure to have. Because again, time can solve a lot of problems. If you are impulsive, it can definitely solve problems long-term with quality assets that will increase in value and make you look like a genius over time. The pain though is not fun sometimes.
No. The other one here is extreme self-confidence, almost to the point of narcissism, right? So extreme self-confidence, and I think these, at least for me, the micro wins and having like the momentum of having some wins in business and people reaching out to you and that kind of stuff definitely helps build your self-confidence pretty considerably, to the point where you're like, hey, if it's not me. I said this when we were raising money at your event a couple of months ago, and I remember standing there and looking out at everybody, and Mark had me MC his charitable giving portion of the event, and we were auctioning off. It was like 4 or 5 paintings, and then a couple of vacations. Dude, we raised over $100,000 inside of 20 minutes on just a handful of things that we auctioned off, and I remember saying that, like, guys, if it's not us, then who? Who else is gonna make an impact positively into these kids' lives, right? We're donating to a cancer foundation for children, and it's like, and I have that mentality quite often of like, if it's not me, then who? If it's not me taking care of my family, who's going to do it? If it's not me picking up trash on the beach, who's going to do it? If it's not me, trying to positively impact other people's lives, then who's going to do it? Like, we have the ability, which means we have the responsibility, right? And I think it goes back to awareness on my side of like, I know that I have blessings and was blessed with great parents and was blessed with a decent education and was blessed with an awesome team and great experiences and growing businesses, and learned a lot along the way, and self-awareness and those kinds of things. So I know I have the ability, which then makes me have the responsibility. I feel like I have this responsibility to then pay it forward and help out future generations. And there is an extreme confidence that comes with that. Like, dude, I know I've overcome a lot of hard shit in my life and in business. And you can call it narcissistic if you want, but like, I know that me and my team can overcome pretty much any adversity that's thrown at us. And so
confidence is built. Everything we're talking about is confidence is built, right? So you say you're going to wake up at 5:30 every morning and you wake up at 6:30, you're losing confidence every day, if you know it or not. If you say you're going to make 5 sales calls a day and you make 3, you make 4, your self-confidence is dwindling. The people I know that are building this confident factor is like, I know what I'm willing to do to succeed, period. I will literally do anything to accomplish the goal I set out to, right? And every day, like you said, micro wins, confidence, like, control the controllables, right? I know what I can wake up. I know what I can put in my mouth. I know what I can put in my hip brain. I know what I can put at the gym. Like, these things are going and going and going. You'll never be 100%, but every day you're closer to that 100%, if not beyond that, ideally more than not, your confidence will rise. And this gives you, like, this is the person that walks in the room and you have no clue why everyone's looking at them. Dude, they have a confidence factor. I know this to be true because I've experienced it myself, and I know you have to. Like, it's a real thing, and sometimes we're off, right? Like, if our confidence is lacking, it's just kind of off. You kind of want to hide your head and don't want to really do much, but we always will pull ourselves back up through effort. Just getting in the game and staying active and showing yourself what you're capable of. Dude, there's great people we've known had amazing confidence in 2008. They are still not confident in 2026, and they're still using the 2008 crash as a reason why they can't get going. It's like, dude, like, what, you waiting for 40 years or 30 years? Like, I mean, it's time. Like, what are you talking about? It's not the confidence. It's the person that creates the confidence that's going to make the change. So I've always felt, give it to me. I got it. You know what I mean? I'll figure it out. That's the resourcefulness, right, in us.
Dude, and nobody ever anointed you worthy, right? Like, you got to just stand up and take it. Like, nobody's going to say, hey, you deserve to be on stage.
I anointed myself, dude. I anointed myself.
Yeah. You anointed yourself. Yeah. Exactly. I feel like society waits for somebody else to tell them that they're worthy of going and speaking on a stage. I remember sitting in the nosebleeds of a section with 20,000 people and thinking like, oh my God, can you imagine what it's like to have 20,000 people cheering for you and rooting for you as you come up on stage and yelling your name? And like, I was like, I could see myself being that guy one day, right? And I've spoken on massive stages because I anointed myself, and I went through a lot of personal development when I would shake talking in front of 3 people giving a presentation, let alone talking in front of thousands of people.
Yeah, the problem is people see the expedited result. They don't see the effort it takes to get to that point, right? You know, I don't know about you, but dude, true story. My mom and dad still have the skateboard. They still have the golf club. When I was like 10 to 12 years old, I was autographing my toys. I was autographing stuff at my mom and dad's house. And my mom was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm going to be wealthy one day. I'm going to be famous." You know, like I would always tell my grandmother. I wrote my grandma a check, you know, on a piece of paper, like, you know, Hip National Bank, $1 million. I will be the first millionaire in the family. And keep in mind, I'm teens, young teens. And she's like, "God, you're crazy. Your grandfather has 5 jobs. You got to work your butt off. Blah 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 blah." I'm like, I'm not saying I'm not going to do all those things, but I'm going to be the first millionaire, and you got $1 million. And, you know, so my whole thing was like, I always felt, I anointed myself, dude. Like, what, if that guy has it, why can't I? You know, it does take little stages, though. Like, how do you see the world? I did meet a guy in my young teens. He owned a Ferrari, a 308, just like on the MacGyver one, a red one. I was at a pizza shop. My dad was doing the construction there, and I talked to him, and he was nice. Everybody on the side, they'd be like, "That guy would never talk to you. He's a jerk." Well, he wasn't a jerk. He was a really nice guy, and I was just talking to him, and he had a Ferrari, and that was like a big first Ferrari I ever saw in my life in real life. So when I was talking to him, my frame got broken, and I was like, if he can do it, why can't I? If he can do it, why? They build these yachts. Who do they build them for? Why not me? They build these big houses. Why not me? They have this 20,000 person stages. Why can't it be me up there? You know, and again, out in context, we have to work to do that, and we're not saying we're not going to work, but like, I do think people have an expedited version, unfortunately, because of social media thing, and it happens overnight.
100%, man.
What's the fourth one?
No, so here's the thing. Rich people aren't jerks, right? Rich people, wealth amplifies who you already are, right? I was making small donations to charities before I had a bunch of money, and now I make bigger donations to charities, right? I was trying to help out friends and family by giving time and giving effort, right, in order to help them, drive them to the airport and things like that. Now I can pay for them, right? I can pay and make bigger contributions in other ways outside of just my time. So, you know, it's if you think wealthy people are jerks, become wealthy and become not a jerk, right? Be the difference maker. Be the one who sets it apart and sets a new stage and creates a new narrative to having wealth and how awesome wealthy people are, if that's what your belief is. You know, I've met a lot of amazing wealthy people, and I think they're some of the most positive, optimistic, kind-hearted, giving, humane people that I've ever met. And it motivates me to become wealthier, so that way I can continue to make a big impact and a bigger impact in society.
No, listen, I've met rich people that are jerks, and I've met poor people that are jerks, and I've met middle-class people that are jerks. If you're a jerk, you're a jerk. If you're nice, you're nice, right? Because on the same side, you know, there's a lot of amazing humans in all levels. It doesn't matter about dollars. However, the impact that you can make when you have a lot of dollars is way bigger. Facts, right? If you know, those charities you can help. I know a guy right now actually losing his house. Unfortunately, a great human being, but his kid has cancer. He doesn't have much cash anymore, and he's going to lose his house. And it's either, do I go to my kid's cancer stuff, or do I go to work and make money? If he had money, He wouldn't have that choice. That's a big burden, right? So unfortunately, this thing that's called real life, and it's not pretty, it's not sexy, but it is what it is. But they're great human beings at all levels, and I think problem is sometimes it amplifies when you have cash. Just like you said, Tim, I'm overly nice, dude, because I know it's a responsibility. Like, dude, like people are watching us differently. Like, oh, that guy must be a jerk. That's why I'm doing different tip stuff. That's why, very blessed. We're very lucky. And I teach my kids this. I know you do too. Like, we're teaching our kids how to carry this torch as well. Don't be disrespectful. Be, like you said, if it's on the beach, pick it up. If it's like, this is what we do. So, no, man, I think this is a great topic. And I think a lot of people, I'm excited to see what the feedback is on this show as well.
Likewise, yeah. If you guys have feedback, I'd love to hear your background, your psychology around wealth, around rich people. If you think they're good, if you think they're not good, some of your stories that you've had and encounters that you've had that have led you to that belief. We'd love to hear it. And I'd love your insight, love your feedback on kind of some of the ramble that Mark and I have had on this topic over the past 45 minutes or so, as I think it's one of those things that kind of keeps a lot of people back from growing wealth and growing as individuals and wanting to achieve at a high level because they think they have to be a jerk, and that contradicts what their identity is. And so hopefully this has taken that myth and overcome it and thrown it out of the wall, thrown it out, because you can absolutely be an amazing human being and have a lot of wealth. Absolutely. So, Mark, any closing thoughts?
No, man, just make sure you guys share the show. Leave a 5-star review at any platform you're at. We appreciate you. Let us know what you got going on. And if you repost the show, make sure to tag Tim and I on social media. We'll reply to you because you're sharing value. And but, yeah, man, that's it, man. I appreciate you. I'm Rich.
Now what?
Appreciate you guys.